Hey there, everyone, and welcome to Alien Investigations, a channel dedicated to the X-Files Collectible Card Game. I'm Steven, and you're watching Tips of the Trade. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 common deck building mistakes to avoid when constructing your X-Files CCG Bureau deck. If you're new or relatively new to the game, well, chances are you've probably committed at least one of these deck building faux pas. Keep in mind that making these mistakes doesn't make you bad at the game. Everyone's got to get their start somewhere. So what are the 3 most common mistakes you can make when building your X-Files CCG deck? Let's start with the most common one, and that is too few sight cards. Sight cards are the crux of the game. You need them in order to ask questions about your opponent's X-File card. Without them, there is no game. Not having a sight card in your hand when the case assignment phase rolls around to you is as detrimental as your lead agent getting mauled by the Spirit of the Manitou and you don't have a healing card in your deck. Okay, maybe not that bad, but when you don't have a sight card to play, your turn essentially ends there. So what can you do to best avoid this? There's a couple of things, really. First and foremost, you want to make sure that your deck is composed of at least 20 to 25% sight cards. Best practice is that once you've selected your team of agents, you'll then pull all the sites that you want to include in your deck. Count up how many sites you've chosen and multiply that number by 4. Whatever that result is, that is the total number of cards you're going to include in your Bureau deck. Try not to exceed that number, and chances are good that you should be pulling at least 1 sight card per round. But that's just playing the odds, right? What happens when you inadvertently shuffle the majority of your sites to the bottom of your deck? It's been known to happen. With 25% of your deck composed of sites, the chances of that happening are low, but it's good to have a backup plan nonetheless. One surefire method is to include at least 1 agent on your starting team that has the ability to search through your Bureau deck and draw a sight card when that situation arises. There are 4 agents with the ability to do that: Agent Reggie Purdue, Agent Jack Willis, Agent Weiss, and Agent Henderson, the promo card. Additionally, you might consider including such cards as, say, the USGS Quadrant Map. That's one of the Truth Is Out There edition exclusive cards, and that's an equipment card that once it's attached to your agent, you can discard it when it's your turn and search through your Bureau deck to pull out any site you want. Affiliation, motive, method, result, whatever you need. Or you can consider throwing in a couple of grid pattern searches, and you can use those to retrieve any previously investigated sites from your discard pile. The second most common mistake: insufficient skills. In addition to having enough sites in your deck, you want to make sure that your team of agents has the collective skills needed to investigate said sites. Only include sites with a prerequisite that your agents are capable of meeting without the aid of witnesses, equipment, or training cards. For example, if your team of agents has a collective medical skill of 3, then you don't want to include a site like Gibsonton, Florida, which has a site prerequisite of medical 4, and then bank on Dr. Hodge or Dr. Lasco showing up when you need them to, because chances are that's not going to happen. So while Gibsonton is a lovely place with its diverse townsfolk, and the funerals are typically a wild affair, if your team doesn't have the medical prowess of a Dana Scully, then give Gibsonton, Florida a hard pass. Be especially mindful of your team's skills when deciding which keyword multi-sites to include in your deck. Multi-sites offer 2 possible site prerequisites, but with a slightly higher threshold to meet. Make sure your agents have the chops to meet at least one of the site prerequisites listed on the card. In most cases, they won't have the necessary skills to meet both, and that's fine. Just make sure that they can meet at least one. And remember, you can include up to 2 copies of any card in your Bureau deck, so consider doubling up on the sites that your team can easily investigate. Before I get to the last common deck building mistake, if you've watched this far and you're interested enough in the game, please consider investigating that subscribe button before you go, and be sure to give it a thumbs up while you're at it. And finally, the third most common deck building mistake to avoid is too many conspiracy cards. Conspiracy cards like adversaries and bluffs are great when it comes to upending your opponent's investigation, but here's the problem. Conspiracy cards come with a cost. That is, if you're playing the advanced version of X-Files CCG, and I hope you are, because it is the best way to be playing X-Files. Let's get to the heart of why too many conspiracy cards can be detrimental. As I said, you gotta pay for them. During your opponent's briefing phase, that's when you, as the conspiracy player, have a chance to sell any resource cards in your hand, and the cost of those cards is converted into conspiracy points, or CP, that you can use to buy additional cards from your Bureau deck, or you can use the generated conspiracy points to pay for conspiracy cards that you already have, and thereby hinder your opponent's ability to investigate sites. That all sounds well and good, right? But remember, you can only sell resource cards, and those are the ones marked with a blue shield emblem. You can't sell conspiracy cards. So what happens when your deck is largely composed of conspiracy cards? Anyone? Well, that leaves very little to sell, and you wind up emptying your conspiracy pool with little or no means of replenishing it. And then at that point, your opponent's going to have the ability to investigate sites with impunity. To best avoid this deck building blunder, consider something in the realm of 2/3 resource cards and 1/3 conspiracy cards. Or let's say 60-40. And don't scrimp on those high cost resource cards that will net you some serious CP. Throw in a couple of shotguns if you got them, or Nurse Owens if you nasty. So there you have it. If you can avoid these 3 common mistakes, then your next game of X-Files CCG should run smoothly. Be sure to drop a comment if you thought this video was helpful. You can also email me if you have any questions about the game, or if you have any ideas for upcoming shows that you'd like to see. Once again, I'm Steven, and be sure to tune in again for more Tips of the Trade.